Well, there is, and this is going to be maybe a little bit of a stretch, or maybe a change of subject. But we had an experience a few weeks ago where we were driving someone to the Montreal airport, in which normally would have been a straight shot up the highway and across the border and continuing on to the airport. So following the Garmin anyway, before we got to the border, we took an exit, which in a way surprised us, and we ended up on a country road. And before we even realized that it was possibly maybe not the right way to go, we were feeling the joy of being on this country road instead of being on a highway. And after a while, the road kept getting narrower and narrower, and we were getting into a more remote area. And at some point, the joy went from that to, oh my gosh, we're supposed to be on the way to an airport, and we have an international flight to meet, and I think we might be in trouble here. So the road was so narrow, we couldn't turn around, so we kept on going. And then panic was setting in. Then all of a sudden, we saw a couple flags up ahead. There was a Canadian flag and an American flag. We said, okay, let's keep on going and see what happens. Well, before that, we hit a roadblock and it said, welcome to Quebec. But there was a Jersey barrier there, and that's when the panic was at its height. Then we saw these two flags, and so we drove down the road toward them, and lo and behold, somehow we were already in Quebec. We hadn't gone through the border crossing, and the flags were a border station, but we were already on the Canadian side. So that panic went to excitement, and yay, we're back on the track, and wow, what happened there? And maybe to add to that was just before we took that turn off the highway, I was relating an experience where 40 years ago, I had driven up to the border with my sister for her job interview, got there an hour early, and decided to drive around, and before we knew it, we were on the Canadian side of the border without even trying. And we all looked at each other in the car and said, well, that can't happen in today's day. That would never happen post 9/11. So had this amazing experience, and so this brings me back to why I'm even saying this. My question is, we had fun, we had panic, we had resolution, and I just can't help but having the feeling that the universe was playing with us, kind of saying, watch this. I'm going to give you a joyous feeling. We're going to give you panic, and then we're going to rescue you from that, and we're going to drive you within 15 feet of the border station on the Canadian side. What was going on there?
Well, it isn't that the universe is testing you, and it isn't that the universe is messing around with you. It's that your perspective kept shifting. In other words, your perspective was things are going well. Your perspective was things are not going well. In other words, the emotional responses you were having was in direct response to the focus that you were choosing from the situation. And the thing that is most meaningful about an experience like that, Esther has a plaque in her car, and it's written backwards so that it says across her windshield, low, so it is not in her path of vision, things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me. So as you start with that premise, things are always working out for me, and then you add to it, what does that mean? Well, for some people, things working out for me, it means always be on time, don't break any rules, don't make any waves anywhere. In other words, it's sort of a bland experience. For some people, it's go 40 when the sign says 40. But things are always working out for me means that the universe is always stretching to my highest capacity to experience joy. In other words, the universe is stretching to show me, first of all, that I'm brilliant. Next of all, that I'm blessed and worthy. Next of all, that things always work out. Next of all, that I'm resilient. Next of all, that I can figure it out as I go. In other words, you are playing in not a high stakes game in the sense that there's any risk, but
Right.
you parlayed yourselves into very high frequencies where the universe can surprise and delight you. And so we just want to ask you, do you think that your relief would have been as extraordinary if there hadn't been a little panic?
Absolutely not.
And so do you,
At the end of it, it was like,
so
that
do
was
you-
fun.
So do you savor, watch the way they're making the motion pictures. They do the same thing to the audience. They get you on the edge of the seat and then they give you a little respite from it, and they get you on the edge of, because humans like drama. You do. But even beyond that, we really want to come back to this, and your answer was very clear, but we want to amplify it still. Your exhilaration was in large part because of the contrasting experience that you were living, you see. Now, you come away from that experience with things did work out. We did make our flight. We were on time. The universe was able to deliver to us all of the components that we had going on. In other words, it is not an accident. Nothing is an accident. Everything comes in response to the vibration that you've got going on. So when you think about the overall vibration that you had going on was one of well-being. The overall vibration that you had going on was making the flight. The overall vibration that you had going on was making your way and having a good time and having an adventure and having an experience. But you even had added some more drama to it by conjuring, by regurgitating a previous experience and making it active enough in your vibration that it was yielded to you too. But it's not someone sitting with their feet dangling over the edges of a cloud saying, oh, well, let's see if we can find a way to really goose this up into something that will really get their attention. It's nothing like that. It's that you get what's in your vibrational patterning. And after an experience like that, we would, if we were standing in your physical shoes, do much of what you were doing. We would count the things that are exactly right, that are indications of who we really are and what we really expect. And we would make sure that we leave every experience that has a sort of mixture of emotions in it with the high-flying, good-feeling, successful, joyous vibration. That's where we would leave that story. Really, really good. Good time for a segment of reflection.